welcome to episode 54 of our SAP on Azure video podcast. Today is August 12th, and together with Robert and Goran, we are here to talk about anything related to SAP and Microsoft. Hello, everyone.
Hi.
So, while Robert is still on vacation, we have Chetan Desai again on our podcast. He had joined us a few months ago, I think, in the meantime, where he already talked about SuccessFactors and Azure Active Directory integration. And as we had mentioned, I think 2 or 3 weeks ago, there's some new content there. There are some new exciting things that have happened with the integration of SuccessFactors and Azure Active Directory. But before we go there, like always, let's quickly take a look at some of the news from this week. And Goran, you brought this up about the application security groups.
Yeah, so security in Azure is super important topic. Many customers ask how to do it, and especially we had in the past concepts of this network NSGs, network security groups. Basically, it's a kind of Azure firewall inside of the VNet. Let me say so. And what customers are basically doing, they are trying to open ports only which is needed. On the database side, only open the ports for the application server of that's it, and nobody else, and other way around. Now, the whole thing with NSG's network security group was a bit complicated because typically you set NSG on a kind of one VNet, and or you could even set it maybe on each NIC, but kind of maintenance is very difficult to do it, So what Microsoft came in with the new additional concept called application security groups, which basically creates a logical construct which represents database tier, application layer tier, for example, and with this, it's much more easier to define those rules. So who can access what, or what is the kind of clause. So this guy, he wrote the blog, interesting in the SAP context, for example. But there is also another blog I would really on another, which is independent from the SAP, but very nicely explained. Could be indirectly also kind of applied on the SAP, because SAP has a DB server, app server, maybe a web layer, for example, and it's just defining how can you allow traffic from certain A to B, B to C, but maybe not A to C, not from web servers directly to the database, and how to do actually a micro segmentation, So blog is basically very nice, and if you scroll down a bit, Holger, it goes also in a different example, and this is also could be applied, for example, for the different SAP SIDs, right? Mm-hmm. So you would here each layer goes into each system from web server to app server to database, but actually access from web server 1 to database is not allowed, another way around, and so on and so forth. So. And also there's a possibility how to do it if you go a little bit down from, for example, also to control the traffic also from the on-premises, for example. So a very, I would say, very important topic. Many customers are asking how to do it. So it's just a thought for the food, right? Mm-hmm. To maybe read a little bit about it and try to implement it. Yeah.
And I think that the beautiful thing compared to NSGs is really that you can see it here in the destination. I can just say web service. So for example, here there's an allow from internet to web service. And then if this group of web service, if they have the appropriate tags, then I don't need to maintain an NSG for each and everyone, but I can just say, well, here the application group is for web service, and then all of these web service groups here, for example, are affected. Yeah,
exactly. And basically adding a new web server, for example, we mean you just map that NIC card to that group, and removing, you just remove, that's it.
Yeah,
and cool. All the rules stay same. So it's like in the users, like you have users and you have groups, right? So you would never set security on one user, but you would set security on a group, and then basically just add users to give the permission or remove the users from the group. So basically it's a kind of similar concept, right? Makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool, great, thank you. Good, with this, maybe let's switch to another topic. So ASUG and DSAG, they had a very interesting survey to their respective customers. And if you are an ASUG member, then actually you can listen to the webinar. So it was recorded. So but you need to be an ASUG member, and then you can listen to the both heads of ASUG and DSAG, and they go through the whole presentation. There's also some summaries here, and also the slides of the webinar. So all of them are there, and it's pretty interesting to see. I mean, there are some things that are very obvious, or some things that I can immediately understand. So the S4 implementation plans, you can see that almost 50% of the customers are already live or are in the process of moving to S4HANA. Then there are a lot of additional customers already planning to do this. So that was very obvious for me. But then if you look at the differences there, and that's where it's really getting interesting. Actually, let me go to this was the one here with the S4 implementation regarding the different timelines from ASUG and DSAG, how they react, how they see, especially also, for example, the RISE topic. Now that was actually the slide that I wanted to show, but I don't find it right now. Maybe it's in the back. But for example, here with the cloud, what's the general attitude towards the cloud? And you can see in ASUG, so for the US customers, it's 74 positive, but only for the DSAG, for the German-speaking customers, only 46. So there's a lot of reservation when it comes to the cloud. And that's,
but it could be that's really maybe a German-specific topic, maybe not so much European, broadly speaking. Yeah, it could be a bit German customers always unique and maybe more.
Absolutely, yeah. No, but and there are a few other things where there's really a difference between ASUG and DSAG. There was also then here's the RISE topic. That was also what I found quite interesting. The awareness of RISE with SAP. So there you can also see there for DSAG, RISE is more, they are more aware of the RISE offering with SAP than the ASUG colleagues. So it's an interesting thing. And actually, if you listen to Jens and Geoff, it's interesting how they explain, how they argue and provide some additional context towards the statistics. So if you are an ASUG member, I can definitely recommend that you take a look at the webinar and listen to that. Then moving on, there was one interesting article about fusion detection of ransomware. So we had talked about Azure Sentinel before. We talked about Azure Sentinel for SAP, for example, and now Azure Sentinel also is able to detect ransomware attacks. And obviously, that's something that can be quite interesting, because here Azure Sentinel allows you to detect certain patterns when a ransomware attack happens in your company. And obviously, if you have this, the sooner that you can detect these attacks, the better. And yeah, so just one additional functionality that here the Azure Sentinel solution provides you with.
Nice.
Then going on, and it's talking about some blog posts on the SAP community. There's one blog post by Murali about event mesh and the whole eventing pattern, so the event-driven architectures. something that I see more and more also with customers. And in his blog post, he outlines how actually the SAP system can be connected to SAP Event Mesh, and the different configurations there, the event enablement package on your SAP systems, and what you need to do to configure to be able to expose these events. And then at the end, there's obviously something that I find extremely interesting. There's a quick demo where, and maybe I can maybe already play this in the background, where he shows a scenario where with the SAP Event Enablement package from Azure in this case, where they show how a purchase order is created in the SAP system, and then you get the notification in Teams. So the event is actually sent to Azure Event Grid. Then Event Grid uses a logic app to trigger a Teams adaptive card, and then from Teams you can actually click on approve, and then immediately this approved purchase order also shows up in the SAP system. So it's a really nice, easy, simple scenario, but I think it shows in a beautiful way how this event-driven architectures can really help you to react on certain events in the SAP system, and then take some actions or some activities. In this case, for example, in Teams. The next thing is a blog post from Martin Pankratz, so just published today, and there he talks about using OData services and putting them behind an Azure API management. So in the past, I mean, obviously for SAP customers, there are a lot of SAP customers that are using SAP API management to protect and manage their SAP OData services. And in this case, obviously, if you're running, for example, your SAP system on Azure, there are also more and more customers that are asking, well, can I connect with my Azure API management to my OData services on the SAP side? And yes, you can. I mean, there are a few things that you need to consider. For example, Azure API Man currently does not out-of-the-box support OData services or fetching all the metadata information from the OData services. So Martin outlines very beautifully how you can convert the dollar metadata information from your OData service into an open API specification, which then you can use to import into your Azure API management. And then he talks, as always, really again in a productive way, how you can really use this in a productive setup, how you can do updates and creates and all this kind of stuff. So it's a really nice blog post again, showing how you can use your SAP system together with an Azure API management. Good. Then one more blog post, and again from Bartosz. Now we are in part 5 of his Azure Synapse pipeline and OData and blog post. Here in this one, we are talking about filters and select statements. Remember, last time Bartosz looked at $skip and $top. So just to have certain chunks of data retrieved from the SAP system. Now he's looking at filtering the information, again with or with a lot of examples actually how to do this. So yeah, just another follow-up from Bartosz on how you can work with OData services in Synapse. So with this, let me quickly revisit a blog post that we had already talked about in the past, and also looking at this this document that's all about this bidirectional integration of SuccessFactors in Azure Active Directory. But instead of me talking about this, let me actually hand over to Chetan. Maybe you can quickly introduce yourself, and then talk a little about what you have done. What new things are there now with the Azure Active Directory and SuccessFactors integration? You're on mute again.
You're on mute. You're muted.
We're quickly unmuted, but now you're muted again.
Yeah, I think.
No,
okay.
No.
Yeah, now it's better.
Perfect. Yeah, hi everyone. My name is Chetan Desai. I'm part of the Azure AD PM team focused on our provisioning integrations. And some of you all might recall that I had the privilege of joining Holger and team here in episode 11 of SAP on Azure, one of the earlier episodes from last year. And I'm so happy to see all the progress that Holger is doing here. You know what? This is your past episode 50, I believe, right?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Right. And great contribution to the community. Thank you, Holger, Goran, and Robert for doing this.
Well, thank you for joining. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep. So let's talk about what we are doing in the SuccessFactors space. What are some of the new integrations, new content that we have come up with to simplify the integration between SAP SuccessFactors and Azure AD overall. I'm going to share my screen here. Once you can see it.
It's coming up. Yes.
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay. Yeah. So I've put together a slide deck to walk you all through some of the key developments in this space. So we'll take a look at a quick feature recap, what it means, Azure AD and SuccessFactors bidirectional sync. And then followed by that, we'll look at an implementation design principle document that we jointly published, partnering with SAP and leading system integrators in this space. And then we'll take a look at the solution architecture and landscape that this implementation design principle covers and all the scenarios that it addresses. And finally, we'll end it with a demo and call to action in terms of what next steps you can work on.
Perfect.
Okay. Moving on to the next slide. So feature overview, what does it mean, SuccessFactors and Azure AD integration? So let's take a look at the business context and the driver behind why we built this integration. So for folks who are working on SuccessFactors, they know it's tied to the world of HR or HCM or HXM as it is called now. And from an identity management perspective, what you see is that there is a constant set of operations happening, which we call as joiner, mover, and leaver scenarios. Okay, so a new person is joining, maybe after some time changing teams, going on leave, sabbatical, and finally deciding to move on and join another company. And all these joiner, mover, leaver events, they place unique demands on the IT teams. And if we take a look at an IT admin who's managing the on-premises Active Directory and Azure AD, which is the identity control plane for access to different enterprise applications, in response to these events, they have to constantly create users, update user accounts, and then disable user accounts, manage licenses, and so on. And we have seen companies taking different approaches to handling this integration, right from running custom scripts to engaging IT help desk, depending on CSV, flat file feeds, or just using third-party provisioning tools. And each of these approaches comes with its own drawbacks in the sense that it's difficult to maintain these scripts once the person who actually wrote it moves out of the company. IT help desk, there are overhead costs associated with it, and so on. And so we decided, okay, let's partner with SAP and see how we can provide a more cloud native solution. And in our quest to get there, here's what we have as an offering today. So Azure AD natively integrates with SAP SuccessFactors Cloud and is able to pull all events of interest, the joiner, mover, and leaver transactions. And in response to those events, it can create, update, enable, disable accounts, not only in your on-premises Active Directory, but also in a number of SaaS applications that your enterprise is connected to. And To add here, yeah, this is a P1 feature, Azure AD Premium P1 feature, or it requires an M365 E3 license. It's all managed entirely from the Azure portal. And we have, happy to share that, yeah, we went live with this integration. The general availability was announced last year in August 2020. And since then, we have more than 100+ customers who are using this. And one of the customers recently published a case study in May. It's called Chetan Desai. It's a mattress manufacturer. And this is what the CISO, the CIO had to say about after completing this integration, that there's a great feeling of relief that they were able to automate the onboarding. So they actually cut down the onboarding time from 1 month to, it takes now less than a day to complete all the onboarding events.
Oh, it's great that you have so many customers already signed up for this. I mean, I think that this makes so much sense, this scenario. So when you first talked about this, I already thought that this would resonate well, but it's really great to hear that you have so many customers already signed up. Cool.
Yep. And there's reason for more customers to also sign up, and that's what we'll cover here. Okay, great.
I mean, it sounds like a simple thing to do, which could be for one user, but if you have many of them, it's a nightmare. So any automation here, it's extremely, definitely warmly welcome from the customer side.
Exactly. And that's such a great point, because if you see from and as we rolled out this integration, we closely observed how customers are picking up this integration, and each customer has their own starting point, and I'll segue into that part now. So there's an entire spectrum of where a customer could start with this integration with. And we are so happy that we actually provided this flexibility inherent as part of our solution offering. So let's take a very simple scenario that there's a customer who has SuccessFactors and who has Azure AD, and all they want to do is IT wants to make sure that the email, phone number, username that they generate for users, that is in sync with what's there in SuccessFactors. So all they have to do is there's an application which we call as the SuccessFactors write back application. They have to go into Azure portal, enable this application, select users who are part of this scope of this application, and those users' data will be synced to SuccessFactors. Very simple scenario. Going live with this is less than 2 or 3 weeks of effort and planning. Okay, that's simple variant 1. Variant 2 is, let's say you're a customer who doesn't have on-premises users, but you only have cloud-only users, which means you don't store users in your on-premises Active Directory, and all your users are in the cloud managed from Azure AD. Think about this is very common in retail scenarios where frontline workers don't need on-prem accounts and they are only created in Azure AD. Okay. So in this scenario, you can do a simple sync from SuccessFactors to just Azure AD. And even this is a pretty straightforward integration, especially if you don't have any complex attribute mappings and you just want to bring in the first name, last name, job position details, etc. into Azure AD. Next variant is again a simple variant 3, where now you're a customer who has a single Active Directory forest domain, and you want to make sure that you get your users from SuccessFactors into this domain. And if you're using some existing integrations, whether it is third-party provisioning tools or SAP API, Business Hub, then you can consider this as a good solution, because it covers a vast range of scenarios, and unlike other tools, it provides capabilities to also handle advanced scenarios like global assignments and concurrent assignments. Okay. And then it can get more complex if you add multiple transformation rules in your attribute mapping, but the good news is all this is supported, and you can configure this with using what we call as expression mapping. So all the transformations are configurable in the Azure directory. And then finally, the most complex integration we see is where you have a single SuccessFactors instance, but multiple AD domains. And even this is supported. So we have seen among our customer base in the last 1 year, we have seen a variety of these integrations, and happy to see each one of them being successful.
Mm-hmm. And in these scenarios, it's SuccessFactors writing information into Azure Active Directory, which right. Makes sense. I mean, I change my role in the company, and I change my name or something like that. Then this is obviously tracked in SuccessFactors, and this information can then be replicated to Azure Active Directory.
Yes, yeah. And to add to that, well, the beauty of this solution is that it's entirely cloud managed. The only footprint you have on-prem is the what we call as the on-prem provisioning agent. So it's a lightweight agent that you can host on a Windows server, and it is responsible for that last mile communication with your Active Directory.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
Okay. Perfect. So let's move on to the next slide. So, okay, with this background of why we built the feature and its current usage, what did we do last month? And you would have seen some social media updates also around this. So what we did is, okay, we said, okay, we've rolled out this solution, but I think just like any integration to build upon, there's so many system integrators and consultants who have a lot of questions. Okay, what is the best practice? Are we doing the right thing, etc.? And I found this amazing concept in the SAP world called implementation design principle docs. So as stated here, these are documents that complement existing implementation handbooks by addressing real-life implementation challenges. And it gives structured guidance to help customers and partners avoid typical implementation pitfalls for key business scenarios. So, so when SAP approached us for this, we were very excited to be part of this, and there were a number of partners also who were involved in this, and they helped us put together this document, which is now available on the SAP SuccessFactors either partner edge or customer community. There's also a AKMS link that we have created to this. You can use this link and access and take a look at this document too.
Cool. Nice.
Yeah. Just
so
curious,
you've been,
sorry.
I mean, these things were links or content will be updated, I believe, in the future with additional.
Oh yeah. So I think that's another great part about this. It's a live document, so they call it out here. SFIDPs are living documents and evolve over time. So we definitely are planning to keep adding to this as our solution evolves.
Cool.
Yep. Okay. It's just wondering, Holger, have you ever been part of any of these IDP documents before?
No, actually, I have not. No.
Okay. But it's an interesting engagement. I mean, yeah.
Yeah. No, I looked through the document and it sounded really, really interesting. And also the what you said, this is not something that is a theoretical practice between SAP and Microsoft, but I could see there's a lot of partners that probably brought in their experience from customers' implementations and stuff like that. So it sounds like a really hands-on document there.
Oh, absolutely. Yes, there is so much practical insights that each of these partners brought to the table. So this is the list of partners who contributed to this document. And yeah, I have to say, to extend, it's a great partnership. And thank you to everyone who participated in this effort.
Oh, great. Yeah.
Okay, so with that, let's take a look at what this means and what was one of the key conclusions of this implementation design principle doc. I think the overall alignment from this effort was that the integration that Microsoft now has built, it is a great opportunity for SAP SuccessFactors to modernize their Azure Active Directory integration. What does this mean? So a lot of SAP customers typically were using this packaged integration from SAP API Business Hub. There was a package integration which allowed them to create users in Active Directory or disable user accounts in Active Directory. And they used to deploy this in their SuccessFactors tenant. But we heard that there were a number of limitations with this solution, this cloud, and there was also a cloud platform-based integration, and there was limitation that it only supported new hire and termination scenarios. Rehire, transfer, and data changes are out of scope. And if you see from a security perspective, that's what an IT team is more interested in. Hey, tell me what's changed now, so I can reevaluate their access profile, right? Yeah, and so what our solution does is the IDP also recommends that for customers who are using either the SAP API Business Hub based solution or the SAP Cloud Platform integration or the Dell Boomi solution, you can now think of migrating to the Azure AD and SAP delivered integrations. So within Azure AD, we have these three specific provisioning apps, and SAP also provides identity provisioning service, and we'll cover how both of these coexist in a customer's landscape. And that's the key guidance you will see in the document too, which says that due to the availability of the new Microsoft Active Directory integration, the following are considered legacy implementations and not recommended anymore. So that's why I see this a great opportunity for customers to start thinking and planning to move these integrations from the legacy integrations to these modern integrations.
Yeah, and I mean, you get rid of this middle layer here, right? I mean, you really directly connect your SuccessFactors system with Azure Active Directory or Active Directory, and you don't need this additional component in between. I mean, customers might still use the cloud platform integration services because of some other integration means, but for the specific integration of SuccessFactors with Azure Active Directory, they can just now use this out of the box, I would guess, almost. Yeah,
exactly. And I think, because we are so focused on this, it's not like a generic integration, it's a focused effort. So we are very well aware about what are the HR scenarios that we need to tackle. And we won't exclude scenarios just because, they're not doable, etc., or let a system integrator do it. We are trying to productize as much of the integrations as possible.
Great.
Okay, perfect. So with that, let's take a quick look at the integration components involved in a typical hybrid landscape and how all these components interact with each other. So this diagram shows a typical customer landscape. The boxes that you see in gray are SAP components, and the ones in blue are the Microsoft components, right? So essentially, if I move from the left side of the diagram, so a customer may have SAP SuccessFactors as their HR system, or they may be in that hybrid mode where they are still using the on-prem SAP HCM and they are using the SAP integration suite to sync data between these two systems. Okay. Irrespective of that, what we are saying is that you should be able to now integrate SAP SuccessFactors directly with Azure AD. So Azure AD can pull those identities and provision those users, firstly in the on-premises Active Directory, and also to other third-party applications, non-SAP applications. And when it comes to provisioning SAP applications, this is where we are making calls to identity provisioning service layer, which then takes on the responsibility to provision the user accounts in the SAP cloud and SAP on-prem applications. Okay. And any on-prem integrations that a customer has, we are not touching that, but we are providing a mechanism for them to move over these integrations to the cloud. For example, the write back scenario that I mentioned. So if a customer is still using SAP HCM as their core HR and SuccessFactors, they're just using storing the basic user profile. But if they still want that data to flow into SuccessFactors, they can either use the SAP integration suite or for IT managed attributes like email and phone number, they can write it using the Azure AD platform.
Perfect. Yeah.
Yeah, so a lot of goodness out here, and I think the implementation design principle doc does a great job of actually double clicking on each of these components, and we have come up with a diagram which at first look looks overwhelming, but I think is artistic in a sense that it covers so many scenarios. I'll take a stab at trying to cover the key parts of this diagram. So essentially, this diagram is split into 3 layers, if I say. One is the SuccessFactors layer that you see here, and then all the provisioning services layer and the on-prem layer. So what we are recommending in this is you will see that we are if you want to get data from SuccessFactors into SAP Cloud applications, we are recommending that you use SAP IaaS and IPS for this purpose. Okay. So you will see the step here, new hire coming in, step 1, step 2, the user getting pulled from IPS and the identity created in SAP IaaS, and then available to all the SAP Cloud applications. Okay, so that's recommendation number 1. The second recommendation is now if you want this SAP SuccessFactors data to flow into your on-prem systems and other third-party apps, then you can use the Azure AD provisioning service here. So the flow is same whenever any change happens in SuccessFactors, the core SuccessFactors, you would read the identity using the Azure AD provisioning service, create it in on-premises Active Directory using the provisioning agent, which will then make it available to all on-prem applications. And if there is a write back required of email or phone number attributes, then we are able to write that back to SuccessFactors through the same Azure AD provisioning service. And we can also create applications in the accounts in the third-party applications like Jira and Salesforce and so on through Azure AD provisioning service. Okay. And then our final recommendation is, for scenarios where a customer has SAP IDM or SAP HCM and you want to integrate that with SuccessFactors, we are saying that use the SAP integration suite to manage identities between these on-prem SAP HCM and Employee Central accounts.
Makes sense. So and this would be just a pure SAP flow again. And also using the integration suite as the integration layer there.
Exactly. Yes. But nice, the customer can just basically, depending on what do they have, just plug in the proper components, right, and have full flexibility there without need to move here or there, right?
Yeah, that's the goal here, right?
Nice.
So so this probably gives you a teaser into what the implementation design principle doc covers, because there's a lot of technical stuff in there, and I was just going to call out what are the scenarios that are covered without going too much in depth into them, but just wanted to show you all what is the structure of the implementation design principle doc and how you can benefit from it. Okay. So if you take a look at the implementation design principle doc, we cover 7 key business scenarios. The first business scenario is where Azure AD is the master and you want to flow data just to SAP SuccessFactors. And this is where we suggest, depending on your use case, you can use write back, or you can use the SAP Cloud Platform Integration Suite. So we have called out what you can use to achieve this integration. Then there are scenarios where you want to extend Azure AD provisioning in the sense, once Azure AD completes the provisioning action and it records the data in provisioning logs, we heard from the partners that they would like to see this data in SuccessFactors Execution Manager. So there's a section that just talks about how this can be done. Today, there is a There is one functionality which we don't have in our provisioning pipeline is the transfer of photos. That is taking the photo from SuccessFactors and making it available in Azure AD and on-premises AD. So we cover how that can be achieved using SAP solution. Then number 3 is where we talk about, okay, as you plan your migration from on-prem SAP HCM to SAP SuccessFactors, what are those incremental steps you can take and where each of these components can be used. For SAP being a global HR player and deployed so widely everywhere, global assignment and concurrent employment are 2 scenarios which are very important for a multinational company. And so we cover these scenarios in depth and how Azure AD supports these scenarios. And later I'll show you a demo which calls out this exact scenario and how we support it. And then there's a concept called position-based provisioning, where based on the position of the user, you want to create the user, grant him certain access in Azure AD and so on. We talk about how you can do that today. While we don't retrieve the position-related attributes today, we have a way to sync those into custom attributes in your SAP user profile and fetch the data from there. Okay. We are also planning more enhancements in this space, so stay tuned for updates on this position-based provisioning. Number 6 is a topic of, since this entire integration is API driven, how do you secure your SuccessFactors API endpoints? So the right set of services, applications, and human access is allowed to these APIs. So we cover that in the topic number 6. And topic number 7 is just API usage best practices and write back scenarios. How do you handle effective rated scenarios? And all these are covered in the last section of the document.
Cool. Yeah, it looks like a very extensive document. Everything is covered here.
Yes, absolutely. I think, it took, if I'm not mistaken, it took us almost 6 months to, curate and refine the content. But I'm very happy about the outcome here.
Cool, yeah.
Yeah, and I think even the way this is organized, the way this entire document is organized, I think it's very readable and you can jump to the section that you are just interested in. So I just wanted to cover how the document is organized, so so you can pick and choose the section that you are interested in. So all these 7 sections, they are organized as different sections, and you'll see there's a requirement portion, there's a solution overview and solution details. So I'll just bring it up here quickly. Yeah. So if you see, so each of these sections, there is a business requirement section. So let me take the example of handling global assignment and concurrent employment. So this is in section 4.4. So if you go to the corresponding 5.4 section, that will give a solution overview, and 6.4 will actually provide you the details of how to go and implement it.
Cool, yeah. So I first can really is this for me? Does it make sense? And then I can actually really have the instructions of how to do this.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's how it's organized, and we'd love to hear feedback if there's a better way to do this or arrange the content. As I mentioned, this is a living document, so we are definitely open to add more content or make it easy to consume.
Great, fantastic, yeah.
Let's go back to the slideshow. Okay, so that's how the document is organized. Now let's go to a quick demo scenario. I think that's my favorite part here, to show what's new and how it can be achieved. So just a recap here. Again, the joiner, mover, lever demo scenarios, we actually covered it in episode 11 of the podcast. So I have put a link here. So if you all want to go and watch this, you can watch this one before jumping into what we are covering here as a demo scenario. But today's demo scenario builds on top of what we did last time. So last year we hired Henry Blake as a person in the shared services department as a customer service agent. Okay. And if you see, I think the demo date was somewhere in August 2020. And it's great that we are doing it now in August 2021. It's 1 year now, and Henry has got an opportunity to go to UK on a deputation or a global assignment scenario just for a month.
Yeah, perfect.
Oh, congratulations.
And, we want to show how this solution can now pick the latest details of Henry, because now he's moved from US to UK. And you want to make sure that in the Outlook, address, global list, all of that, his UK details show up and not his US details, right? That's what you want to make sure the up-to-date information is available to all your business applications. Okay. So that's the scenario that we will look at. So as I mentioned, there is SuccessFactors Employee Central is still our source. We have Henry, whose home country is US, but he's moving to the new host country, UK. And as he does that, we'll see how there are different options that you can use to synchronize. This is all covered in the document, but at a very core layer, what we want to do here is make sure that we update the user attributes of Henry to reflect his global assignment details. And a requirement that IT has placed is that even though he moves to this new country, they still want the old his home country manager to show up. So we are not changing the manager details here, but just updating the job attributes of the user. Make sense? Okay. So here's what we are to look at in terms of a demo. So first we'll start from the SuccessFactors admin console, and you'll see here Henry Blake's profile. His position here shows that he's part of shared services, corporate US Philadelphia, and his AD account is actually shows the details of his US office currently. And this is his home country profile. Now the HR will go and initiate what's called as a global assignment. So the HR here goes and adds global assignment. And as part of that, it's a short-term assignment from August 1st to August 31st. And it is with the UK subsidiary of the company. So you go and pick up the specific job. So they want Henry to do some production testing of some new products that are coming out. And here we see Henry now has global assignment set in his SuccessFactors profile. And it shows that his location is Knutsford and department is production UK. So when IT now runs the provisioning job, so for this user, they will see the new details of this user come through. So here we see the country as Great Britain, UK, manufacturing, and the same details now flow into Active Directory. So you see here, the country region is set to UK, and on the organization, we see the new job title of production tester, and manufacturing is the company, and department is production UK. The manager is unchanged.
Beautiful. That's really nice. So you make the changes only in SuccessFactors, and then the replication goes down really to your Active Directory on-premise, where you see all these changes reflected. Really nice. Yeah.
Yeah. Plus, I believe there was an organizational unit in play as well, which is a typical to kind of have a granular security inside of the Active Directory.
Yes.
So
yes.
Which is being supported, which is great, which is nice. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So there could be a scenario, as you said, that in addition to changing these departments, we want to move him from OU equal to organizational unit equal to US to organizational unit equal to UK. So even that capability is built in the tool.
Cool.
Okay. So that's the demo for new hire global assignment provisioning. And then I wanted to also spend some time on the write back scenario, because let's say that in the same scenario that when he is on when Henry is on deputation in UK, they want him to use his UK business email and UK phone number, so that those are new attributes that are assigned by the UK business team. Okay. In that case, we can make sure that this data is flows back to the SuccessFactors core profile of the user. So here's the scenario. So here's Henry's email and phone number, which is managed by the IT team. And as you can see here, the email is set to henryblake@wingtiptoys.co.uk. And once the auto provisioning now runs to update business email and phone number, we will see that the primary business phone number and the primary business email will get updated in SuccessFactors. So this is the provisioning cycle running and updating the user in SuccessFactors. And if we view Henry's updated email and phone number details by going to the contact information section, you will see it shows the new email and also phone number with the +44 extension ISD code.
Cool. So the other way around. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. So bi-directional. So I wanted to show both scenarios there. Yeah.
Cool. Very nice. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So that's what I had for the demo. And in terms of I was going to go into sharing some of the learning resources we have around this. There's of course the bidirectional IDP document. We also have a tutorial on how you can configure integration to on-prem AD, write back, so there are tutorials specific for those starting points that you have. There's also an integration reference document that gives you details of how to handle this global assignment, concurrent employment scenarios, and how to perform expression mappings. That's in the functions document. And then we also have a deployment plan, which you could use if you have a complicated HR system or you want to you have to use different transformation rules. How do you do that? That's all covered in this cloud HR deployment plan.
Cool. No, that's really great. Yeah.
Yep. And I think with that, I just wanted to share some call to action / go-dos for the viewers here. Read through the SAP SuccessFactors Azure AD IDP doc, a lot of great content. Pick your section that you're interested in. Definitely plan your migration from the legacy SuccessFactors integration methods to this new Azure AD based provisioning, and you can pick your starting configuration, whether it is write back, whether it is cloud only user provisioning or on-prem provisioning. And finally, yeah, build, test, and roll out your SuccessFactors integration with this.
No, that's perfect. And again, I think it's really fantastic to see the adoption already that you see with customers, and I'm sure that more and more customers will test this and implement this scenario, because I mean, it makes a lot of sense, as you said, this dedicated connection from Azure Active Directory to SuccessFactors. So really making sure that it's not a generic one where you can do anything, which might also be good, but we know that there are a lot of customers using SuccessFactors, and we know that a lot of these customers are using Azure Active Directory or Active Directory. So having this dedicated connection there makes a lot of sense to me.
Yep.
Cool, great. Then
I was going through the document of these 48 pages. It's amazing. So much details, scenarios, architectural diagrams. I mean, guys, it's really feast for the people who would implement it. Really, really excellent.
Oh yeah, and we are just beginning here, so there's more to come.
Excellent.
Yeah. Chetan, I was already thinking, I'm really looking forward to the next call where we see what happens to Henry. I mean, now he joined, now he moved to UK. So I'm really looking forward to his next move in his career.
I mean, so, I can bet it would be a flight to Mars.
Yeah, let's see what happens to Henry. So next time, Chetan, we invite you. I'm looking forward to the next steps that Henry does in his career.
Oh, that's a great idea. Yeah, we will keep track of him.
Perfect.
Yeah. Thank you.
Good. then yeah, thank you again very much for joining. I think that was a really great overview and fantastic demos. Thanks for that. And I'm really looking forward to seeing you again in one of our next episodes.
Sure. Yeah. Always a pleasure. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, everyone.
Thank
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.